How's it going, everyone? It is a beautiful day, and we're going to get into a new book called The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley is the author of the bestseller speculative novel called Brave New World. It was one that has been compared side by side with George Orwell's 1984, due to them both being kind of speculative, future dystopian-based novels, kind of projections of what the authors thought the world was becoming, either metaphorically or literally. And this book, I guess this also includes a piece called Heaven and Hell, which I actually have never heard of. I've been meaning to read The Doors of Perception for a while now. That's Mr. Huxley. And a fun fact about Aldous Huxley is that he was pretty much blind. He did not have good eyesight. And he had trouble seeing to the point where he had a hard time reading even what he had written. So I think another one of his works is called The Art of Seeing, which is one that I'm also interested in reading, because I have a feeling that it has to do with his experience having bad eyesight. But Heaven and Hell, I don't know what that is about, but The Doors of Perception, I believe, is a work that he wrote after experiences with mescaline, which is the active compound, the psychoactive compound in peyote. And I think peyote is a root. But I think mescaline is a psychedelic substance. So yeah, we're going to start that today. And a talking point. The ocean is so flat today. It's beautiful. A talking point I thought would be interesting is the concept of talk, kind of connected to the adage that goes, talk is cheap. And just wanted to kind of explore that a bit, get into my ideas regarding it, what it means to me, and why it's a commonly used phrase. So we're going to do that. Let's see. I'll read the back of it to start. So the quote taken from the top is, "Half an hour after swallowing the drug, I became aware of a slow dance of golden lights. Among the most profound explorations of the effects of mind-expanding drugs ever written, here are two complete classic books, The Doors of Perception and Heaven and Hell, in which Aldous Huxley, author of the best-selling Brave New World, reveals the mind's remote frontiers and the unmapped areas of human consciousness. This new edition also features an essay, Drugs That Shape Men's Minds, which is now included for the first time." Okay, so I guess it's 3. Well, it doesn't really dig into it, but I guess we'll find out while reading. And a quick bio on Mr. Huxley is he lived from 1894 to 1963. Author of Brave New World, Island, Eyeless in Gaza, The Genius and the Goddess, and Devils of Loudon, and The Perennial Philosophy. He was born in Surrey, England, and educated at Oxford, died in Los Angeles, California. I believe that when I researched him a bit, I think that his wife was a teacher. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to look into it again. So that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna talk about talk being cheap. And we're going to test out my new chair thingy again. It seems to work pretty well. Yeah, it's a beautiful day at the beach. I had a very, very long week of nonstop school, nonstop internship. It's good stuff. Making it happen. We're on the way. And I'm trying to remain in a positive outlook when it comes to, draining challenges, because, a lot of satisfaction comes from traversing long, strenuous, difficult paths. So my eye bags may be bad, but they will contribute to something. And I thought it would be chillier out here, but it's getting warm. Everything is coated in pollen. But I probably could have done without sweatpants and shoes. Got to showcase my fancy Frank's Red Hot socks, thanks to my sister's boyfriend. He is a funny guy. Okay, so let's start with a Calvin Thompson original poem. The material is not mine, though. The material is not claimable. It's we're all working with the same stuff. Let's see. I think I will read two that I have started, and I don't believe I'm finished with them. The first is called Ice Bath. Here we go. I, the human equivalent of the ice bath, emanating extremes of momentary shock and awe, disruption of the perceptual act of love, served as dose of the real deal. Could it be more blaringly, obviously chilling that we are straying perhaps a bit too far from the true haven? Or have methods for invoking short-term discomfort been trending throughout the collective past? Is it a subversive modern form of self-flagellation? All right, so flagellation, self-physical punishment. I wonder if self-flagellation is redundant. I think it might be. I think it might be better as, is it a subversive modern form of flagellation? All right, so that's one which was prompted by my noticing ads for ice bath products. You can now buy tubs, inflatable tubs which are made for ice baths. And I'm seeing these advertised on YouTube, which is interesting. I'm trying to think to myself, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, better yet, 10 years ago, were people using ice baths? Were ice baths a fad? I don't think so. Because I don't think... I guess it's hard to tell. Because I can only see everything from my own lens. So 10 years ago, I can't pretend like I knew what everyone was up to. Maybe ice baths have been a fad. And then the second one is recipe filter. This one's kind of weird. The squishy pink matrix of pasta, fractal-driven synapse. What does what? Gray matter, confused, cortex? Engine room, present, with whimsical whirring, curses of the darndest times, processing. Max me out, stimulate this void, O black mirror. Line me up for another search query. Assist me in my productivity, contribution to this ever so apparent betterment for us all. Throttle my confusion, wonder, and appreciation to the rear of my Tupperware container. It's leftover day. Removal. Whence overcompensation of addition frenzies, extreme events fueling extreme reactions, from absence of consideration. Left that one kind of just trailing. I left both of them kind of trailing. My notebook is about filled up. It's time for another one. I've got one on the way. I went with dark green this time. I have a brown one, this black one, and now they make them in dark green. I get these from a Japanese man named Hiroshi Yoshino. He hand makes these, and his company is called Design Y, as in design period letter Y. I will link the website down below because I have very, very much appreciated his notebooks. They're very well constructed, 1. 2, they make very good gifts. They're expensive, but they last, they're durable, and the biggest benefit to them, as far as I'm concerned, is the thinness of the paper. So this notebook has 480 pages. 480 pages, and if you look at it, I mean, aside from the I guess here, the paper thickness itself is about equivalent to this book here. And this book is 185 plus 20. It's about 210 pages. So this paper here is about half as thin as standard paper in a book. So it's just very nice because, well, this notebook looks small and it looks like you would go through it quickly. And even if you write 2 or 3 full pages a day, it lasts far longer than I would have expected. And the ink dries quickly on it. I use Pilot gel pens. It definitely smudges. I'm not left-handed. And I write in all sorts of places, in bed, etc. So sometimes I smudge, but it's not that big of a deal. Usually when towards the end of the page. But yeah, I believe that the paper is called Tomoe River paper, and they've stopped producing it in the original production, so I think it's slightly different than it has been, and it's not as high of quality. But I think there's another type of paper that he has started to use, which is called OK Fool's paper. And if I remember to put it in the bio, I'll explain why it's called OK Fool's paper. I think it has something to do with high quality writing paper called like Fool's Cap or something. I don't know exactly what it was. But anyways, I'm excited for the dark green one, and I think it will last me for another good time. As I'm writing my book, which I admittedly have been slacking on, I will go back through my brown and my black notebook and potentially my green one and bring together all of the thoughts and ideas. So, before we get into reading, the concept of talk being cheap. I would start by saying that language is a funny thing. Funny in the way that seemingly simultaneously language can mean both everything and nothing at the same time. For example, if you say something to a person, it can have extreme weight. And it's almost as if language is always tied to action, whether it be action or inaction. And I guess the funny part about it is that inaction is kind of like the equivalent of action, just as no response is the equivalent of a response. So it's tricky because, someone will ignore you, like take the silent treatment. The silent treatment is no response when it comes to words, but it is a response nonetheless. It's a response by action, and the action is the absence of words. So it connects to this idea that as you move through time, or as time moves through you as an individual, something is always happening. As in, you're always making choices. It's basically impossible to pass through time, or for time to pass through you without choices being made. It's like, say you go out for a night with your friends, and you make the choice to either be social or antisocial. Social being that you're very talkative, you're striking up conversations with people, you're bringing uplifting energy into the group, versus antisocial, you kind of remove yourself from the situation. You're there with everyone, but you're not actually involving yourself really. So it's I think it works for talk is cheap, in the sense that you can say things, I guess a phrase that my mom used to use, you can talk until the cows come home, and nothing can change. There's this quote that I saw last night, which also works for this. It went something like, an intelligent person's most preferred way to procrastinate is by learning something new. Which I thought was funny. I thought that was very funny. Because it's true. I guess it comes down to, as you make choices in life specific to responsibilities that you choose, or responsibilities that you tie yourself to by your choices. Say having a kid, for example. You choose to have a kid. You are then tying yourself to responsibility of caring for the kid. And if you don't care for the kid, you pay for the kid to be cared for somehow. Same concept as marriage. And I think this is probably where the whole idea of people joking about, like, you hear people say, never get married after they're married. Maybe it's because it's impossible for people to grasp the magnitude of the responsibilities that they are tying themselves to through decisions which happen within a moment. Like, you get to know someone for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and then you marry them. That choice of the marriage binds you to this massive responsibility. Like, speaking with my girlfriend about love and how love feels best when it allows for freedom. How there's this fine line between allowing someone you love to be free while at the same time having expectations for how they treat you, or what they will do and will not do, in regard to relating to other people, emotionally or physically. So it's like, well, yes, love feels best when freedom is allowed. Like, I guess think back to the 70s, like free love. Free love was the theme. And no matter how much people try to push that, it doesn't work at the end of the day. I mean, you can... all of these people, anyone can push this concept of free love, but I guess the idea is that due to the emotions that come along with being a human being, you cannot... nothing in life is free, while at the same time, being alive means that you're free. I guess these themes are very contradictory to themselves and paradoxical in nature. But back to the chosen concept of talk being cheap. I consider myself to be generally well-spoken, not by any means a, savant of language. I think I'm good at talking with people. I think I'm good at communicating with people. I think I'm relatively articulate, and it's something that I'm grateful for. But I will also say that at the end of the day, it does not very much matter, unless you pair your use of language with action. It's the way of showing the brain what you want it to be programmed to do, basically. The brain is programmed via behavior. Something that I have kind of understood throughout my own experience, but the person who put it best into words and made it kind of palatable that I know of, his name is Star Jesse Taylor. He's got a YouTube channel and he's been around for years. Some of his stuff is very, very, very helpful. But his general concepts are kind of scary because they're accurate to me. But I guess my view is that there's no complete way out of the problem which he presents, which is basically addiction. Like there's no complete way out of addiction to me, because addiction is a feature of being a human being. Even if someone's not like a drug addict, someone's not addicted to heroin, like they may still be thoroughly addicted to caffeine. Anything. Caffeine, excessive work, excessive exercise, sex, sugar, junk food, all of this stuff. So the idea is that talk is cheap, and I find that it allows me to use it kind of as an excuse from acting. Like I can maybe not so much an excuse, but a distraction. Like, I don't know, if there's something that I don't like, if there's something that I don't want to internally face, or face through the passage of time, or if there's a truth that I feel that I understand but I don't want to face the truth, I can go and use language and talk to people and kind of elicit or attempt to elicit responses that I'm looking for. And I think this all ties back to a concept of self-honesty, and how willing we are to be honest with ourselves, because there are definitely times in my life where I have sought in conversation basically responses or answers that I'm looking for in order to solidify the position that I already am set on. It's like, it almost seems insane to go into a conversation with unless you're trying to convince someone else. But if you're already convinced yourself and you go into a conversation asking for a perspective, and you're kind of steering it in a way where you're trying to elicit agreement from the other party about your position, it's just it's very closed-minded, but it makes sense because I think it's pretty much ego-driven. If I know in my heart that something is wrong to do, or wrong in the sense of not loving, or something that's not going to benefit me in the long run or benefit others in the long run, my ego and my head sometimes still want to, look for outside validation of what I already have chosen. So, yeah, it kind of makes me think of sitting in class and speaking of opinions, speaking of what I believe. I think talk is cheapest when it's used to make oneself appear in a way to others when realistically, maybe behind the scenes or in different scenes, the language doesn't match with the behavior of the person. So I guess what I mean is something that I've learned in recovery is if I go to a meeting and I kind of, I guess, tell on myself in a way, and then kind of proclaim that I understand that such and such behavior is unhealthy and it's not something I'm interested in because I understand that it's damaging or self-deprecating, and then I turn around and find myself participating in said behavior 2 days later, I guess it's tied to denial and cognitive dissonance. And I find that when that is accepted by myself, when I notice that it's happening, if I accept it and I do not acknowledge it and look for ways to extinguish it, that is the sort of behavior which I would say enables pathological, I guess. I don't know if I would like to look up the definition of the word pathological, but I'm thinking more along the lines of automatic or compulsive lying or omitting of information. But generally, the concept is tied to the fact that language can be used. I would say cheap talk is manipulative use of language, generally. And I think that it's so kind of silly to pretend as if most people do not participate in use of manipulative language, because I think most people do. I don't think most people recognize it. I would say there are a lot of times when I participate in manipulative language, I don't notice it. I think I only notice it when I'm trying to directly control someone. And I think that it would be so commonplace nowadays to, sit down and have a conversation with someone or with a group of people and try to claim that, I think most people would claim that they don't behave in ways which exhibit attempted control over other individuals, but I think that that's so false, especially in the society we live in today, the society I live in America right now. I don't think that it's true at all. I think that most people, whether or not they realize it, are acting in ways to attempt to control other people. I just think it's become so common that unless it's in very, very specifically malicious ways, people don't notice it. And I guess I would say that I feel like the people who do exhibit this sort of behavior in excessively malicious ways end up doing such because they build up to it. I think behavior is generally learned, so I think that people who go to extremes in any sense have built up to those extremes. I don't think that most people jump to extremes. I would say that if I had to guess, there are definitely cases where people jump to extremes, but if I had to guess percentage-wise, it's probably above 90% of people who act in extreme ways do not just appear there. From the people don't go from 0 to 100 is the point. I guess I would say that in my case, my most extreme version of behavior which I've exhibited in my lifetime is extreme exhibition of addictive behavior, like binge drinking. And I would say that, yeah, I did not start out binge drinking. I don't think most people who struggle with addiction start out binging anything. But talk is cheap is definitely something that is worthwhile to pay attention to. It's something that I'm going to keep my focus on. I'm going to focus my third eye on it, because cheap use of language is the easiest way to buy unconsciousness. It's the easiest way to buy denial, and it's the easiest way to separate oneself from their soul, I would say. I think intentional what's the word I'm looking for? Methodical use of language is very important when it comes to a person stepping into their own shoes, so to speak, filling their own shoes, developing their own sense of self as an individual among the many, really just growth-wise. I think it's very important. So it's something I'm going to focus on. It seems like it's something that would be a good theme in my book. It would fit in for sure. So I'm gonna note it down. I'm sure it already ties into stuff that I've already written down. And other than that, I am going to read the beginning of Doors of Perception. I've read like 5 pages of it. Just kind of got a quick peek. The book that I most recently finished, and I did not get to do a video for it, unfortunately, was called If Beale Street Could Talk, written by James Baldwin. It was a short novel, like 200 pages, and it was wonderful. It was gifted to me by a friend who found it in one of those mini libraries, the free libraries on the side of the road, where there's the little hut with the door. She said that due to my area of study and focus, sociology, that sort of thing, she figured I would like it. And I said that I've been intending to read James Baldwin for a while, so it was very exciting, and it was a wonderful choice. I think next time I make a video, I will describe the book I'll give a quick summary of it. Anyways, it is very beautiful out here today. All right, so the Doors of Perception. Perception is very important. And I think that's why I've wanted to read this book for quite a while. I'm excited. It starts with a quote by William Blake. And the quote goes, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite." I think infinity is scary to men. I think infinity is scary to all of us. Personally, the concept of death and rebirth is scary to me. Reincarnation is scary to me because reincarnation more or less implies infinity. Like, I don't know. I wonder if most people actually want to live forever. And I guess the idea of reincarnation is that you aren't really conscious of your past lives, at least not surface level conscious of them. So maybe it doesn't feel so much like you're living forever. But when you dig into it, maybe that's why everything seems so familiar throughout your life, because you've known it forever. Interesting thoughts. Let's see here. This is an interesting concept. um, a theory which Bergson put forward in connection with memory and sense perception. The suggestion is that the function of the brain and nervous system and sense organs is in the main eliminative and not productive, as in the function of the brain and the nervous system is to eliminate overload, basically. Each person is at each moment capable of remembering all that has ever happened to him and of perceiving everything that is happening everywhere in the universe. The function of the brain and nervous system is to protect us from being overwhelmed and confused by this mass of largely useless and irrelevant knowledge, by shutting out most of what we should otherwise perceive or remember at any moment, and leaving only that small and special selection which is likely to be practically useful. According to such a theory, each one of us is potentially mind at large. But insofar as we are animals, our business is at all costs to survive. To make biological survival possible, mind at large has to be funneled through the reducing valve of the brain and the nervous system. What I like about that is that it kind of contradicts the belief, this widespread belief that consciousness comes from the brain. Instead, it embraces the idea that consciousness is of spiritual nature. It's of a nature that we're not able to understand, and that it is channeled through the brain. And the brain is a funnel, sort of, to the point where consciousness comes at the widest mouth of the funnel and trickles down to where we animals living as beings which channel consciousness are able to operate and to survive. Basically, I think what it's kind of saying is that we aren't able to, in our bodily form, handle massive levels of consciousness. We can be overwhelmed by it. And the function of the brain and the nervous system is to trickle it down. Furthermore, to formulate and express the contents of this reduced awareness, the reduced consciousness, which is the function of the brain and nervous system's funnel system, man has invented and endlessly elaborated those symbol systems and implicit philosophies which we call languages. Every individual is at once the beneficiary and the victim of the linguistic tradition into which he has been born. The beneficiary inasmuch as language gives access to the accumulated records of other people's experience, the victim insofar as it confirms him in the belief that reduced awareness is the only awareness, and as it bedevils his sense of reality, so that he is all too apt to take his concepts for data, his words for actual things. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I guess perception and language are tightly tied together. But it's interesting how well this fits the concept of talk is cheap, or that line of questioning. Like how I said earlier, language can be used. It's the double-edged sword sort of thing. Most people, most of the time, know only what comes through the reducing valve and is consecrated as genuinely real by the local language. Certain persons, however, seem to be born with a kind of bypass that circumvents the reducing valve. In others, temporary bypasses may be acquired by either spontaneously or as the result of deliberate spiritual experiences, or through hypnosis, or by means of drugs. Hint, hint, psychedelic experiences. So I wonder if Aldous Huxley saw himself as someone who bypassed this more naturally, or if he began to via his experiences with mescaline. I would wager that, or what if you tie the two together and say that people who end up, attempting these experiences in a sort of predestined manner did so because it was within the cards for them to install that bypass, so to speak. And a question which this brings up for me is, what is the cost of the bypass? If we are, born as human beings with this bypass, or sorry, not with the bypass, but with the funnel which constricts our awareness or breadth of consciousness, what is the reason for that, and are we supposed to expand upon it? Are we supposed to bypass it? And by supposed to, I mean, is it there for a good reason? That's the question I'm asking. I guess tied to the whole as above, so below thing, it's the belief that if you experience more pleasure, you will equivalently experience more pain. Maybe not at the same time, but eventually. So when it comes to higher consciousness or higher levels of awareness, is it such a thing that people know what they're getting into when that is what they're seeking? It's a question that I've asked myself, because there's this song, this great song by a group called Yellow House, and I think one of the last lines in the song goes, "No way to undiscover the things that we uncover." As in, once you figure something out, or once you know something, once you've experienced something, the only way to get rid of it is to completely forget about it entirely. And I guess the phrase that goes, "Be careful what you wish for," works in such a way where that's why it's a caution, because you wish for something, you get it. Say you wish for expanded consciousness or increased levels of awareness, but you fail to ask yourself the question of, what price am I paying for this? So those are some thoughts that come to mind. Well, it's definitely going to be thought-provoking, that's for sure. It already is. Well, that's all for today. I figured I will participate in kind of like a little gratitude list. Three things that I'm grateful for today, and 3 things that I am going to translate into action. One thing we kind of discussed in our in my IOP group and in my internship was how gratitude is an action-based system. So for example, today I am grateful for my able body. I have 2 legs, I can walk, I can eat, I can move my arms, I have use of all of my fingers. So the action tied to that is I'm going to go exercise. What else? I'm grateful for rest after a really long week, and I have a meditation meeting tomorrow morning, so the action I will take tied to my gratitude for rest is I'm going to clean up my room, change my bedding, and go to bed at a reasonable hour so that I can get some good rest in. And thirdly, I am grateful for the beautiful approaching spring. I think spring starts on the 26th, and today is the 21st. So, the action I'm taking is I'm outside breathing in the fresh air, looking at the beautiful landscape, and watching the little seagulls waddle around. Yeah, it seems like other people are enjoying it too. Anyways, thanks for joining me today. Maybe next time I will be in shorts. Yeah. Keep on moving forward. Enjoy what is right here and what is right now. And thank you for joining me. See you next time.